Me and Secretary Long went about 4 minutes going back and forth because he was very clever in not answering my question. I hope you don't do the same to me. He did not accept the report. That is on record.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Yes.
I think we need to be careful about putting words into the mouths of witnesses that are not here, and I don't believe it's actually on the record that Secretary Long said, I do not accept the report.
Well, let's go back to December 4th of 2025, and you can tell me what you hear.
I don't accept the report.
Yesterday at committee, Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne was grilled over deficits and the Auditor General report on the CRA. Conservative MPs pushed for clear answers on fiscal credibility and whether the government truly accepts the Auditor General's findings. The exchange got so heated that the Liberals tried to gaslight the entire committee about Wayne Long's contradicting testimony about Champagne 2 months ago. Let's take a look.
Minister, we're voting on the BIA tonight. Your budget identified 2 fiscal anchors to balance operational spending by 2028, 2029, and to maintain a declining deficit to GDP ratio. Do you maintain that these are still your anchors?
Yes, I do.
I ask because your budget introduced a $78 billion deficit and over $140 billion in new spending. And since then, the supplementary estimates ask for an additional $5.4 billion. This includes $115 million.
Point of order. Are we?
Yes.
We're talking about the CRA 100-day plan during this meeting. I'm not sure why we're getting into budget discussions.
Well, as you know, I allow members wide latitude to question witnesses as they see fit. It's their time, and I allow them to use it as they like. So I'm going to allow this questioning. I see the Finance Minister was eager to answer these questions, so I will turn things back over to Ms. Kusi, and you have about 4.5 minutes left.
Thank you, Chair, and I'd be embarrassed if my government was spending this much money as well. And I assure you it's relevant because the more money your government spends, the more taxpayers have to pay. As I was saying, this includes $150 million in new operational funding for the CBC and $1 billion for Canada Post. And there's more spending still not included in either budget. $12 billion for your grocery benefit, which doesn't bring down the cost of groceries, as well as $6 billion for electric vehicle incentives. In the PBO's analysis of the budget, he found that there was just a 7.5% chance that your declining deficit to GDP anchor would actually be realized. And that analysis came before your government announced the billions in additional spending since the budget. Can you be honest with Canadians now and tell them exactly what percentage the likelihood of your fiscal anchor is to be met?
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephanie Kusi. And already out of the gate, the meeting has just started. and the Liberals are already getting cold feet on the questions. And Kusi's response is, we're spending money, so that's going to equate to more taxes having to be collected by the CRA. So yes, it's absolutely relevant here. And I think we were talking about this way back in the fall, and we were looking at some of the evaluations. I think CD Howe had put one out, and they were forecasting roughly around $100 billion in deficit spending. Now, government came out and we're like, oh no, it's less than 80. But if you add up all of these totals that Kusi is talking about, we're now at around the $100 billion range. So, hello, you've already blown past your budget that you took months and months and months to actually put forward. You've already blown past it by $20 billion. Funny, that's around the same amount that Trudeau blew past his budget when he went from 42 to $60 billion in deficits. No, $62 billion. And everyone was like hushing in the House of Commons when that happened, and Chrystia Freeland resigned and the Liberal Party collapsed. So what? Now we're just going to celebrate? Who cares? So, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Carney has proven that he manages our finances. Let's just be conservative here. Just as badly as Justin Trudeau. That is an achievement in itself.
Well, I'm glad, first of all, that you focus on the budget. I mean, I hope you spend a lot of time reading it, because you'd find that Canada is one of the very few countries in the world, you don't need to take my word, but take the word of the International Monetary Fund, that says there's only 2 countries in the world which have the fiscal capacity to really help their people during this particular time. She mentioned Germany and Canada. Why? Because we have both a AAA credit rating. And she said countries which invest in infrastructure and housing and productivity innovation are going to be leading the way. And that's why you mentioned the grocery benefit. I would just I think, again, a bit of humility. This is helping 12 million Canadians. It may not be much for you, but I can tell you, when I look at folks in my neck of the wood and in my riding and across many regions, if you look at the numbers, it's going to help a lot of families. And you don't need to take it from me. Take it from Food Bank Canada and others. We said we have done a boost and a bridge.
2.2 million Canadians have had to use a food bank as a result of your government's 11-year record on the budget. That includes the $78 billion deficit that you just presented this year. And why did your budget not include the additional billions that you have since announced since you put forward your budget?
So what I was saying is that I think you should look at the grocery benefit and essential as helping families. So we said what we did when we look at that.
I go to the grocery store in my riding, Minister. I can see people, they are filled with trepidation as they go to put items back in the aisle that they had in their
Ms.
cart.
Kuzi, I have a point of order. Yes, Mr. McKenna.
I would ask the member to let the minister answer when she asks a question.
Mr. McKenna, as you know, the time is sacred, and while I do value responses from witnesses and do allow witnesses to finish their answers even after the time has expired, I think that's unique in this committee. Members do have to kind of have their elbows up to ensure they're heard in their time as well.
Well done, Williamson. They have to have their elbows up. Ladies and gentlemen, the subtle backhanded slap from the chair on that was absolutely brilliant. John Williamson, phenomenal chair. Him, John Brassard, Kelly McCulley, patience of saints. You can't get any more than that. And he's absolutely on the money here. It's the member's time. And good on Kuzi to stop Champagne in his tracks and call him out. Oh, well, you should have a bit of humility, because the $12 billion in grocery rebate, that's going to help people. May not be a lot for you, but it's a lot for other people. No, it's not. And this is what Kuzi was just saying. Like, your grocery rebate doesn't bring down the cost of groceries, buddy. And that equates to about $100 a month. What do you expect that to do? And it's paid for by taxpayer money. So we're going to be paying for it at some point. Hello? So good on her for going after him. Get him.
You have, oui, monsieur. C'est une point d'ordre.
Just point of order. In relation to the point of order, I think the tone was respectful. We've seen stronger emotions at committee. I think this was not necessary. Thank you.
Ms. Kuzi, you have 2 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. So did you deliberately mislead Canadians when you made your budget announcements in not including those billions of dollars that you have since spent?
I would say we presented an investment budget to Canadians, a vision to 2030, and I would say I'm just surprised by the tone and nature of your question, because the 12 million Canadians, would you suggest that we should not help Canadians at the time of need for food and grocery?
I would suggest you could help Canadians by spending less, by not having such an incredibly large deficit.
But would you suggest that it's not a Canadian value to help each other in times of need?
I would suggest it's a Canadian value to stick within your budget and to be honest about the amount of money that you are going to spend.
And when you have the fiscal capacity, like the IMF said, would you suggest that a country of the G7 which has the fiscal capacity
I
to
would
help people who
think that
need
the
it.
IMF is not in the grocery stores of Calgary, Midnapore, seeing Canadians take groceries out of their cart and put them back in the aisle, Minister. Now, Minister, early on in the Prime
in
Minister's
Calgary,
leadership,
Midnapore, that will receive the
Just
benefits.
hold on, order. Just
Sure, they're not gonna
I've
be
got
very
points
proud.
of orders. Yes, Miss Yip. So
The minister isn't able to have a chance to respond.
well, he was. I mean, if you're going to interrupt with a point of order, Miss Yip.
That point of order, Mr.
I'm going to reset, Miss Kuzi. You have 1 minute to go. Mr. Champagne, Minister Champagne, you will have the last word. I do turn to the witnesses for a last statement anyway. Brevity, though, being the key word. Once the time is elapsed, Ms. Kuzi, you have the floor.
Jenny Yip, the minister hasn't had time to respond. The minister has chosen to respond by asking questions. So actually, it was Stephanie Kuzi that was responding to the question from the minister. So, Ms. Yip, your point of order is garbage. Why don't you keep up? Because all Jenny Yip does is read what's on her paper. She has no original thought of her own, and that hasn't changed in 3 years of covering committee, and she has no idea what she's even doing there.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, early on in the Prime Minister's leadership, you were proud to call yourself a partner, and you said that the two of you would be a mighty economic team. Is doubling the deficit what you meant by a mighty economic team?
I would say there's very few people in the world who would question the credential of the Prime Minister as a good steward of the
So
economy.
he made you do these, make these
and I would
decisions
say
to double the deficit.
Not
That's what you're
only
saying.
me, but if you look at the, I want you to bring in perspective, because the people of Calgary, Midnapore that are watching, I just want to understand that thousands of people are going to receive the grocery benefit. Are you saying it's not going to help them? Because I'm missing
saying if
that.
you reined
that
in your
point.
spending, that's really what would help them, Minister.
But-
if you focused on the things that would allow them to pay less for groceries in the first place, that's truly what
And
would
the
help them,
structural
Minister.
measures so we can grow more food and have more abattoir in the country so that we have more food production, more food security. You don't think that's important for
I
Canada?
think that's very important, and I think the best way that you can do that is by reducing the tax burden on them by spending less.
So no investment in your view.
And that is the time.
Thank you.
It's interesting because Champagne isn't asking the question, right? But he's trying to turn it around and say, well, you know, on this narrative, well, you guys don't have solutions. Well, the solution is if Canadians paid less taxes, you actually wouldn't have to give them a grocery rebate in the first place. And this is the big problem with the far left and the extreme socialism that is being brought forth in this government. No, we will spend more. We will tax you more because you don't know how to handle your money. We do. And when we have a little bit extra, or we have to borrow to get it, then you'll get those scraps. And that's the condescending tone of Champagne when he says, well, you know, it may not be a lot to you, but, you know, it's a lot to Canadians. So, you know, the scraps that we give them, they should be very grateful for that. That's what I get from that. And it's completely crazy that he sat there and didn't answer one question. But it's also not surprising. Now, things get just as crazy when Ned Curick, who's our MP of Hamilton East Stony Creek, he takes a run at Champagne. Take a look at this.
Mr. Curick, you have the floor for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you to the Honourable Minister for coming today as a witness, and Madame Serjak as well. Thank you. You had said earlier in answering one of your questions you'd want to look forward. So that's the concern I have. So when I questioned Secretary Long, he said he didn't accept the report findings. What do you have to say about your colleague's disregard for the Auditor General's report?
So just so we're clear, you're talking about the Auditor General. When you said the report, you referred. Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
No, I just want to be. Well,
Yes,
listen. You have to thank the Auditor General for her work and accept the report that she draws some conclusion, and you would know that the agency has said that not only we look at the report, but we appreciate the work and we will implement our recommendation, and we're already doing that.
With all due respect, Minister, my question was on Secretary Long. He said he didn't accept the report. Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Do you, sir, accept and agree with the Auditor General's report?
Well, I mean, in a sense, the report speaks for itself, but what I'm saying is that the recommendation and the report we have already taken on board. And we appreciate when people try to help us to improve services
Fair
for
enough,
Canadians.
but do you agree and accept the report? Me and Secretary Long went about 4 minutes going back and forth because he was very clever in not answering my question. I hope you don't do the same to me. He did not accept the report. That is on record. Sir, I'm not sure if you were aware of that. So before we get into him, do you accept and agree the Auditor General's report?
Well, like I said, I take note of it, and the agency, it's far more important that the agency.
Yes and no questions.
Well, I mean, say, I accept that the report of the Auditor General is being actioned upon. Not only we took it, but what you care about.
I understand your actions, that you took the report, you read
Yeah.
the report, that's your job. I understand that part.
Sure.
But do you accept and agree with the report? Because
Well, do I need to
secretary did
agree?
not. Your secretary did not. That's on record.
No, I'm saying the report is the report, in a
Well,
sense,
do you
what you
accept it
want.
and do you agree with it? If it is
Well,
the report,
I accept
is
that the report is there, and it's
Sir.
dated the October 21st, 2025.
Well, sir.
No, but I say, not only
I accept that the report exists. And you could hear Mr. Keurig just laughing like, what are we in crazy town here? Oh, I accept that it exists. What the heck kind of an answer is that? Oh, I accept that it exists. Oh my goodness. What is going on?
accepted, but we implemented it.
So you do accept it?
Yeah, but we already acted on it. We took their
Okay,
recommendation.
So then it's a very simple question. You
Yeah.
accept and agree with the report.
I accept that the report is here and we have acted on it.
do you
I'm
agree
trying,
with the- do you
I'm
agree with
also
the
a lawyer,
report,
so
sir?
we can go on for another
Oh,
4
we can.
minutes.
I have no
But
problem.
we'll have fun on that. If you change the question, you may have a different answer.
It's not about having fun, sir. It's about the Canadians at home want to understand that the people in charge of the CRA accept and value and agree with the Auditor General's report. Secretary
100%.
Long, Secretary Long did not.
100%.
Okay,
That's
so
why
you-
we already implemented what they say.
Fair
So
enough.
not only accepted, we said the recommendations are good, and we're going to put them in action because that's what Canadians care about.
Okay, so then your secretary doesn't have the same view you have. So moving forward, there's a little bit of a conflict here. So Canadians want to know, and members of my riding want to know, is that going to be a conflict of interest moving forward? Because you are a very high-profile minister, you will move on, but Secretary Long will be still, this will be his portfolio. Now, he doesn't accept the report. You do. Now, when you move on, we're left with Secretary Long. So after this 100-day plan, is it going to go back to the way it was? Canadians want. You're at odds with your own secretary, sir. You've clearly stated that today. So
But I'm not
we want
moving
some
on anywhere.
reassurance.
Trust me, the guys from Shawinigan, we tend to stick around. You know, the guys from Shawinigan, we stick around. So I'm not moving on anywhere.
No. I don't mean that figurative, sir. I mean,
Okay.
you have a very big portfolio, and we
Yeah,
understand
okay, I
and we-
appreciate it.
and I
didn't-
respect that.
I thought you were thinking I
respect
was
that. No,
leaving. No, I'm
absolutely not. No. Not as a minister. You have a very big portfolio. You will
Appreciate
start to look at other things after this. After we're done with you here. So,
Sure.
but Secretary Long will be here to stay. So I have a concern, and when I went back to my writing of Hamilton East Stony Creek, many people questioned me and said, wait a sec, we're supposed to uphold the Auditor General's report. I said, yes, of course we do. Secretary Long doesn't. But as you move on to other things in your portfolio, Secretary Long will be overseeing it, and he doesn't. What are your concerns about that?
Well, I would say what you should tell your concern. I'm not for me to tell your concern, but I'll tell them because they're probably watching TV tonight. I'll say we have implemented the report. They should take confidence and comfort in the fact that not only the report has been accepted, but Ms. Serja can tell you we've already acted on it. The recommendation I've already. So we say technology.
I'm very clear. I'm very
improvement
clear on your
calls.
position, sir. I'm very clear on your position. You accept it. You agree with it. But Secretary Long.
Order, Mr. Chair, point of order.
Yes.
I think we need to be careful about putting words into mouths of witnesses that are not here, and I don't believe it's actually on the record that Secretary Long said, "I do not accept the report." I don't
Okay.
believe those were the words.
Whoa. Okay. First of all, first of all, that is not
You
a
should
point
know.
of order.
You should know.
All right. Let the gaslighting begin. So now what the Liberals are trying to say is you're not allowed to talk about what anyone said if they're a Liberal MP and in the government, if they're not in the room. So what? If you start talking about, well, Prime Minister Carney said, point of order, Mark Carney's not in the room, so we shouldn't be making accusations and putting words in the mouth of people that aren't here. Yeah, that's not going to fly at all. Otherwise, you would never get anything done. And you would never be able to pull evidence on really anything. But when it comes to Wayne Long, is it on the record? Did he actually say that? Well, let's go back to December 4th of 2025, and you can tell me what you hear.
So enough kidding around. Do you agree with the Auditor General's report? Yes or no, sir?
I have a different view on the report. So it's really not a yes or no question, to be honest.
Well,
I have a problem with using a subsample of 167.
so then you
people.
do not agree with the report.
I just don't accept their findings on that one.
So do you agree with the Auditor General's report? Yes or no?
I don't accept the report.
And I quote from Mr. Long, I don't accept the report. So, Liberals, it actually is on the record. So, maybe you better keep your mouth shut on this one.